Welcome to the Rock Your World Naturally podcast, the place where women from around the world come to discover God's plan for health in body, soul, and spirit. I'm your host, Rekishia McMillan, award-winning author, Air Force veteran, and health evangelist. I'm passionate about sharing biblical truth, scientific research, and practical lifestyle approaches to help heal your world naturally. You're listening to podcast episode 36, my exclusive interview with Dr. Njideka Olatunde, Naturopath and Master Reflexologist, visionary and creative energy behind Focus on Healing Wellness Institute. In this exclusive interview, I had the pleasure of hosting Dr. Njideka Olatunde, the visionary and creative energy behind Focus on Healing Wellness Institute. Dr. Olatunde is an accomplished naturopath and master reflexologist with expertise in the cultural integration of non-traditional healthcare approaches for mind, body, and emotional wellness. She is a recognized leader, pioneer, and motivating authority on the integration of reflexology with conventional and non-traditional healthcare practices as a medication and addictive-free pain relief alternative in addressing the opioid epidemic that is plaguing our communities. Her practice, Focus on Healing Wellness Institute, provides wellness training programs and certification in reflexology. It is also a clearinghouse of information, research, services, and programs on wellness and cultural integration of healthcare practices. Their focus is on healing the spirit, mind, and body. The programs available at Focus on Healing are available for youth to seniors, laying the foundation for new experiences in using alternative and non-traditional healthcare for optimal wellness. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the show Naturopath and Master Reflexologist, visionary and creative energy behind Focus on Healing Wellness Institute, Dr. Njideka Olatunde.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to speaking with you.
Oh, I am so excited about today's show. I know that it's going to be impactful for all of our listeners who will receive what it is that you have to share with our audience on today. Dr. Olatunde, before we get started, I usually start out with an icebreaker question. So if you could just let our listeners know, what are you doing in your world right now that is simply rocking your world naturally?
Oh, that's a good question. Right now, in the midst of everything that's going on, one of the things that's really motivating me more than anything is to touch people's lives by helping them to learn how, in the midst of everything, how to pass on generational health and wellness. And we can work on stopping the generational disease and illnesses that's affecting our bodies right now. So it's like inspiring people. That's what's rocking me right now.
And that is so powerful. And the fact that you mentioned that you were on a mission to stop the generational diseases or sicknesses that we continually see from family, and just thinking about some very close scenarios in my own life, that if we don't catch those things, that they surely can be passed on to that next generation. I'm so glad to hear
that's so
you
true.
say that. Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we really seriously have to start looking at now. And I firmly believe that can play a big role in helping us to heal ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
That's so true, because as you shared, just stopping that from carrying on to the next generation, it affects our total health.
Yes.
Affects the total health. And so, Dr. Olatunde, I am excited about the topic of this show today, because I think you're my very first master reflexologist that I've had on the show. So for those that may not be aware of what reflexology is and how that works with health, can you just share a little bit about your work that you do in that area?
Okay, good. That's another good question. Most people will look at somebody working on somebody's hands and feet, and they often think of being massaged. But reflexology is the art and science of working specific reflex and pressure point areas on your hands, your feet, and your ears to relax, relieve stress, improve circulation, and detoxify the body. And you're working the nerve endings. You have 7,200 nerve endings in your feet and 2,500 nerve endings in your hands that connect to every part of the body. And they all begin in the brain and they run straight through the body, ending in your hands and feet. And so reflexology is a good resource to use specifically, which is what my focus is on, relieving pain, and which gets into the problem that we're dealing with now as it relates to a lot of people now are looking at alternatives to addiction and medication pain relief. And reflexology is an answer to that.
Mm. And I think that's so fascinating. I did not realize that there were 7,200 nerve endings within the feet that connect to the brain. That's absolutely fascinating to me when I think about just how the body is interconnected from head to toe, I guess you could
Yes.
say.
Yes.
And even with this in the midst of the pandemic, the coronavirus, Dr. Olatunde, one of the things that I'm hearing the most about is that because people are working at home, they're becoming more sedentary, they're sitting more, and so people are experiencing higher levels of pain because they're not getting out and moving as
Yes.
much as they usually do. And so when it comes to pain management, it just seems like if it's not you, it's someone that you know of that's being affected by pain on a daily basis.
That's what's extremely sad. The reality to pain that nobody is looking at, which this pandemic has really kind of put a knot in our lives by moving us away from the one thing that every human being needs, and that's the power of touch. And by
Mm,
not touching, it's creating a lot more problems than that we possibly can't imagine. And so when you look at reflexology, which is an age-old technique, it's not nothing that's new, it's aged old. And the fact that most people actually know how to do reflexology, but not understand how it works. And I say that to say with a prime example, if you're going to look at your body, and when your body's in stress and it's in pain, the one thing you do is take a pain medication. And when you
mm,
take the pain medication, what does it do? It numbs the nerve endings in the body, excuse me, so that you no longer feel the pain. But that's not the cause of the problem. And when you're looking at reflexology, the first thing you want to do is to relieve the pain. So the next step in the healing process is to address the cause. And if we are able to touch, and just the power of touch, how powerful it heals.
mm,
And when you
mm.
think about, all you have to do is think about, um, say, for example, touch comes all kinds of ways. It's not necessary that it has to be like, physical. You can look at somebody and touch them.
Right.
You can just send, like, lots of energy out. A smile is touching. A smile is a form of touching as well. And these are the things that are all encompassing in doing reflexology, because you're putting all of your healing energy into the power of touch, using your hands to touch somebody's feet and somebody's hands. And that sends a message to the brain to release the body's natural pain relievers, which is the endorphins.
That is absolutely powerful. And you're so right, Dr. Olatunde. There's so many ways that we can touch individual lives, because I truly believe, as you just shared, that we were created to be relational. We were created and made to be able to connect with other human beings. We were created to connect with life, whether that
Yes,
is through a smile, whether that's through a gesture, whether that's
yes,
through, you know, those different things that we don't normally think about, but it's so powerful. And it's something that you mentioned, that because I was just having a conversation today with a dear friend of mine, and we were talking about when mothers first have their babies, why it's so important for that mother to embrace that child as
yes,
soon as they're born,
yes.
because we notice a difference that babies that don't receive that touch on the initial, coming into this world, that scientific research has shown that it's
Mm-hmm.
harder to attach in relationships later on in life.
Yes.
And so the fact that you mentioned just touch, it transcends, it's so much greater than what we really believe or think that it is.
Exactly. And to really kind of expand upon that, when you're talking about, the best way I can give an example to try to explain this so that your listeners will really understand how powerful touch is. When your body starts experiencing pain, you have to understand one thing, that that's an alarm to let you know that something is getting ready to happen inside your body that needs your attention. And what happens a lot of times is, when we're in pain, if it's not excruciating or unbearable, we just ignore it and don't pay it any attention. But just that one incident of pain is letting you know that something needs to be attended to in the body. And I'm talking about body systems, because when you're in pain, the system sends a message to the brain: I need relief. I need something. It could be nutrition I need. It could be exercise I need. It could be I need some circulation. I need some blood flow, whatever. It's sending a message, but it does it in the form of a pain. And what happens is, when we finally decide to do something about it, the pain has caused another problem that winds up being defined as a disease or an illness. And that's what people don't really think about. When you get that first sign of an illness,
Mm.
and I'm sure you can understand this, is a result of stress that's
Mm.
outside of the body that you bring in. And when you bring it inside the body, it starts breaking down body systems in the form of illness. But the first sign is pain. And so if you work on addressing the pain first, so then we can get to what we need to do to treat, or, like I'd like to say, assist the body in the healing process.
That is so true, Dr. Olatunde, because so much of our culture here in the Western world, if we do experience pain, it's either taking a pill, taking a
Yes,
medication, or either just constantly working through the pain until it gets to the point to where something chronic develops, or we
yes,
are diagnosed with some kind of illness, but it is so important for us to be able to learn how to listen, and not only listen to our bodies, but when the body is sending off those alarms, those signals from the pain, to truly address it at the root cause, as you're mentioning. And then you can get on to the actual treatment, because you're taking time to really focus on and address the pain that you're going through.
And see, one of the, I think which is, which I find a lot in terms of as I talk to people, if you ask them, most people understand a basic operation of their automobiles, but have no knowledge of the operation of their body. And if you look at the automobile, which most people don't realize was designed just in the same format as our body. Each of the operating components of an automobile are the same operating components that we have in our body. They all function the same way. But we need to take time. So with your automobile, if they say you need to have a maintenance on your automobile, you're automatically going to go and do the
Mhm.
maintenance. But we never think about maintenance of our body. So, which means that when we go to our practitioners, just like you do with your automobile, you take your automobile to a mechanic and you'll say, well, this, the brake's not working, or well, I got a problem with the steering. You tell the mechanic what it is that's the problem. And from there, the mechanic will work to try to find the solution to your problem. When you go to your healthcare provider, you go in and just say, I'm in pain. But the thing that you don't tell them is what contributed to the pain. So that way you can get a better treatment protocol put in place that will lead to your body getting well. That's about taking back control of your health and your wellness. See, we leave that piece out, and it's your body, and you should be the one to assist your practitioner in putting together a treatment plan based on the system of the body that is in stress. And let me give you an example when I say that. If I was to ask you, if somebody came to you and said that they had asthma, what would be the first thing that you would think about?
A way to really help them with their breathing, or what is it is causing
Right,
their
you're talking
issues
about breathing. So
breathing?
what body system would be responsible for your breathing?
The lungs,
Yes.
the main
And see,
one.
that's the way you have to start thinking about your body. Wherever you're feeling the pain, think about that system. And if you think about the lungs, you automatically say, well, there's something going on in my respiratory system. So if there's something going on in my respiratory system, what is it I need to do? Do I need a body cleansing? Do I need to be resting more? What are the things that I need to be doing? Am I breathing correctly? Is my posture affecting that? These are the things that you should start thinking about, so that way now you're in control of your healing process.
Oh, I think that's just so significant what you just said, Dr. Olatunde, regarding, we maintain our vehicles, and we take care of the car, take care of our transportation. And if we really take a look at our physical bodies, this is our means of transportation for moving in this
Yes.
earth. And so we've got to have some type of maintenance system that we are continually engaging in, because it's kind of like, you just got to make those adjustments along the way to really stay in that cycle, or that rhythm, or that state of health.
Yes.
And so with the work that you do, which I find to be just so fascinating, I've always loved naturopathic medicine, as well as reflexology. What is it that motivated you to do what you're doing now?
Okay, let me see how I can shorten it up to share with you. Well, first of all, I guess I would have to say that it deals with my upbringing. when I was a child, I grew up on home remedies, and that was the basics. And back in that time period, which is like, probably so foreign to a lot of people, doctors came to your home when you were ill. Uh, so they did home visits. And I always saw doctors as being healers. So I said, when I grew up, I want to be a healer. I said, that's
Mm.
exactly what I want to do. So by the time I got to college, I got a rude awakening because doctors were not what I wanted to be as a doctor. So
Mm.
this is where you and I have something in common. I switched up and went into the field of social work.
Yes.
And in my career as a social worker, one of the things that really bothered me was that most of my clients were always going to the emergency room for health care. And I said, well, like, we've got to look at prevention. Prevention needs to be the key. So in the process of all of that, then I went and, got my training to become a naturopathic. So my calling came back around again. And so since the calling came back around again, I started my practice first as a naturopathic practitioner, and then I added the reflexology because it was important that we understand the power and the connection of touch. So that was real important with it. And so from that, that's exactly how everything got started.
Mm.
And connecting with the naturopath as well in relationship to putting treatment plans together to help people evolved into me looking at the reflexology because it was a cultural connection as in terms of the power of touch as it relates to healing. And so the two kind of came together, and that became my practice. And from there, I moved into teaching and doing research on the cultural connection between healing practices and conventional medicine.
Mm. So I like the fact that you shared that your journey started in your childhood where you were surrounded by those natural healers who would come into the community that would take time to actually touch you and to,
Yes.
to help you to get well. And we know that medical practices of today are just so very different, where many people feel like when they go in and they see a regular doctor, and I'm not knocking doctors, I know there's some wonderful doctors out there, but
Sure.
the medicine of today focuses so much on administering prescription medications versus the natural remedy because, as you were sharing earlier, listening to our bodies, versus a subscription or prescription, excuse me, that someone might need, they might need more rest, or it just might be detoxification that they
Yes.
need, or it just might need to be a change in their diet that's
Yes.
necessary to bring them to that place of healing and wholeness because those older remedies, those ancient remedies that have been passed on by our ancestors, they
Hmm.
work and they're effective and they work with your body.
That is so true. And the sad reality is that we have gotten too comfortable with the quick fix. And we have to understand that whatever illness that's affecting your body right now, it did not just happen overnight. It was a process. And just like it was a process for to get to the point of being an illness, you also know that there's a process in order for the body to heal itself. So it goes both ways. So there is no quick fix. It's a process.
Yes, and again, I think in the Western culture, it has become everyone is so used to the instant, or someone is so used to getting things quickly. But as you shared, Dr. Olante, that it is a process. It is um, necessary to follow a path to experience that healing, that we are in need of. Um,
Yes. And that's the reason why we're dealing with a lot of the problems that are affecting us now, which leads to what my real mission is right now. And that's to be about introducing pain sufferers to the reality that they can control the pain that's affecting their bodies without having medication. And so my cause really now focuses on introducing reflexology as the alternative to medication and addiction opiates in relieving
Mm,
pain. And you notice we also have to focus on the power of the words. It's not about killing pain, it's about relieving pain. And we don't want to take painkillers. We want to find pain relievers because you want to look at what's going to be effective. If we relieve the problem, then we can treat the problem.
wow, that is so powerful that you just made that statement, that sometimes we become so desensitized to things that we've just become so comfortable with the language. As you said, it's not taking the pain killer, but the pain reliever. We want to be able to be relieved of what it is that we're experiencing and what
Yes,
we're actually going through. And again, I think we become so desensitized to so much that it's become so common that we don't even recognize the language or the wording
exactly.
that we're exposed to.
And I can share this with you with your listeners in terms of which is another pet project of mine, which is really my ultimate passion. Do you know who the best reflexologists are? And you'll really be surprised. And they
Hmm.
are our youth, young people. If there is anyone in your house and you can show them some basic reflexology techniques to use,
Hmm.
you have a permanent reflexologist right in your household that can help you relieve pain and stress in the body. They are wonderful.
Mm. Wow. So yeah, we have daughters, so we just went up to get them, into the reflexology. That's so good to know. Now, do you think it's because why do you think that is that they are um, good at that? Is it because of their youth or just they enjoy the process? What do you think?
One of the reasons is because right now, our young generation is so deprived of touch.
Mm,
That's a big problem for them.
mm,
And introducing reflexology is a way to help them understand the power they have in touch in a positive way rather than the negative way touch is being presented to them.
mm. Yes. That is so, so true. That is so true. And when you look around, we are living in a world, especially with this generation, and, technology, I
Hmm.
think has had some huge part to play in that because today, a lot of the youth, when they say we're going to get together and play, it's not necessarily outdoors. They're inside on a digital device playing a video game, or they're just connecting in a different way. And
Hmm.
it's really absent of the touch that's so needed for that
Yes.
interconnectivity and socialization.
And that's one of the major problems why we're having a lot of problems with young people. Because one of the things I have found in working with youth, they are very fearful of touch until you can introduce it to them as something
Hmm.
positive. Because most of them have had a lot of trauma in their lives. And
Yes,
touch is a contributor to it. It's because,
yes.
like you said earlier, most of them were never touched when they were born or early in their
Hmm.
early years of their lives.
Yes, yes. And so I could certainly see how reflexology could really be used as like a healing process process for them to really, as you said, just introduce that healthy touch to our young generation.
Yes.
Now,
And
what's a
another tidbit that will be helpful for your listeners to understand this, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what treatment you're using for any type of health condition that you may have. The body cannot ever heal itself until it's in a state of rest and relaxation. It has to have that in order for the healing process to begin.
Yes, and that's so important to share that because we have to be able to get the proper rest that we need because we're living in a culture of 24-hour operations, just going, going, going. And it's so easy to get caught up in that, but it is making that intentional decision to rest the body, to shut it down, whether it's at a certain time every day, to get in that rhythm, that cycle of
Yes.
restful, restorative sleep. So, Dr. Olatunde, for our listeners that are out there and are thinking about getting help in this specific area, can you share where they can find you out on the internet?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to offer your listeners a free gift from me for just listening to me today.
Oh,
And the gift that I want to give to them is 121 ways to relieve pain medication free.
mm,
And the website to go to is www.fohthankyougift.com.
oh,
And
that
to read, go ahead.
no, that's absolutely phenomenal. I know that so many can truly use that free gift because there's if it's not for you, get it for someone that you know, anyone that you can connect to that you know that's experiencing pain. Make sure you go to that website. Can you give it again, Dr. Olatunde?
Yes, the website is F as in Frank, O as in Ocean, H as in Happy, thankyougift.com.
Wonderful.
And for those who may be interested in wanting to learn about reflexology, I do have an online 4-week training program. And the way you can find out about that information is reflexologyeducation.net. And in addition to that, there's also 2 free training programs to get you started to see if reflexology is something you'd like to learn.
Wow, no, you can't beat all of that. And for those of you, again, go to the websites that Dr. Olatunde has shared, get the free resources so that, again, we can get that pain relief that's needed so that, you can achieve that optimal health, optimal wellness, free pain relief information, as well as the online certification for those of you that are interested in it. Even if you want to get your feet wet to see if it's for you, take the free courses because it will do you some good for your overall health. Dr. Olatunde, are there any parting words or any other things that you'd like to share with our listeners today?
Well, the one thing I'd like to share with everybody to if you don't understand anything, no matter what happens to you as it relates to your body, know that you have the power inside of you to heal your body. It's not outside, it's inside you. And know and wake up every day, no matter what's going on, seeing yourself as being healthy and well.
That's powerful. So having that visual of, even though you may not be in that state right now, visualize yourself healthy, in that healthy state, to where you truly, truly want to be. So Dr. Olatunde, it has truly been my absolute pleasure hosting you on today. It has been informative, insightful, educational. I truly gained so much from it, and I know that our listeners out there will gain much, much wisdom as well. So thank you so much.
And I thank you, and it has been a joy speaking with you as well. And I'm just sending out everybody be safe and be well.
Thank you so much again, Dr. Olatunde, and I wish you all of the best and many, many blessings to you.
Thank you, and same to you.
For health tips, faith-based education, and inspiration, visit www.rockyourworldnaturally.com and on Facebook at Facebook.com/rockyourworldnaturally and Twitter at twitter.com/rockyourworld28.